So with all the excitement of getting our conversation recorded and out there, I completely forgot to introduce who we are. So I'm going to do that very quickly and also make a very quick disclaimer. So I'm John Jacobs. The conversation recorded is with my two fellow co-founders, Man Wong and Sunil Diao. And just a quick disclaimer, all views expressed are those of ours, not CandidateX's. We just wanted to put that out there, that we're just having a conversation. It's stuff that forms opinions that we have as individuals and isn't something that the brand necessarily has views on. So there you go. There's the pre-intro before the intro. So hope you enjoy. Morning, everyone. How are we doing?
Morning, mate. Morning. How are you?
Pretty good, thanks. Yourself?
Take myself on mute.
Nice and warm. Nice and warm.
Yeah, indeed. Warm it is. So just to introduce what this is, whatever this is called. So we as a three thought, as founders of CandidateX, that we have these debates, conversations, opinions. Every day we get stuck into certain conversations, topical issues that are going on. And we thought that actually it might be a nice thing to be able to, well, that's subjective, for people listening, watching, or people that might be interested in what we're thinking, and in case anyone's missed anything in the week, that we can just kind of recap on a few pertinent things that have been going on in the world and have a bit of a conversation, a real hard 5 to 10 minutes on a few things, spark some debate, get some engagement going with people that might be watching, and just have a bit of a chat. We're doing it anyway, so we might as well get something out to the world and see what people think. So there's no title to this. It's just it's a conversation that we have anyway, just letting people into what we're talking about. So without further ado, let's have a little look at some of the stuff that's been going on in the last week or so. First thing I wanted to talk about with you guys is the fallout from the Euros is still ongoing. The dust has settled a little, but the conversations are 100% raging on. Now, I for one I felt really upset, as did a lot of people, in terms of what happened directly after the Euros, and my upset and anger mostly been directed to the social media organizations, who I feel have got just an enormous amount of responsibility to ensure that hate online is stamped out. But in doing a lot of reading up on this stuff in the last week or two, what I've discovered, what I've learned really, is that the government, I think, have got as much of a responsibility in working with the social media companies to make these things enforceable, so we have a safer online environment for our kids. So I just wanted to open up a conversation about it, really, see what you guys think about what's going on. There's a proposed online safety bill which the government was in pre-legislative mode at the moment. So where's your heads at on the topic, guys?
You can tell this is the first time we've ever done this because we didn't even introduce ourselves. So
it's diversity, inclusion, unstructured, or uncensored.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So what are my thoughts, man? Okay. I think the solution is complicated, John. So look, there's a couple of trains of thoughts with this, right? So in my view, I think absolutely absolutely without question, more needs to be done to tackle racism as a whole, right? Both in the workplace, societal, starting at your homes with your kids, and conversations that you're having every day with anybody that you sort of engage with. If you see something, it's not enough to stand quiet and say, oh, I don't agree with that. You need to be absolutely vocal about how to change these things, otherwise nothing gets changed. But I do think the solution is complicated. Now, specifically to the responsibility of social media, the idea of anonymity plays a key role on the internet. And it always has done and always will. And I think there's real value in remaining with an anonymity, because the fact is there will always be bad actors in any system. That doesn't mean they don't have responsibilities. And big tech companies, or any company at the moment, should feel and empowered to act more on behalf of their communities and everybody to stamp out injustices and inequality. But But I think this extends to a much wider conversation where, why is this actually happening? This is a systemic thing. And we're governed in these rules where almost, we've got a history of white supremacy with this, that, and the other. And I think that needs to be tackled. That needs to be tackled in every way, shape, or form. And it's not just simply a case of censoring people or stopping people. Do
you not think, man, that these companies, for all of the technological breakthroughs that they've been able to make, they're just not focused enough on this? They've not had the incentives to do to work and solve these issues. I mean, they've done things in the past like stamp out child sex exploitation type stuff. They've solved a lot of those problems, and I just feel like this is a challenge. Of course, we understand there's technical complexities to it, but do you feel that if they apply themselves, they should be able to fix this problem? I don't really want to hear about how complex the problems are. I just want to hear about the fact that they are solving them.
No. I don't think the problem is a technically complex problem. I mean, we've just seen a very rich man, which I'm sure we're going to talk about in a second, fly to the moon. Well, not fly to the moon, sorry, fly into space rather. So in a phallic-shaped rocket ship. So I don't think technically re-engineering or tracking someone and stopping people posting monkey emojis to black celebrities, black individuals, black people is too much of a technical step. I'm talking about the problem of racism is complex. Tech can tackle things, but it doesn't examine it at the roots. The problem, we have a racial complex. Windrush, for example, is a clear example of this. We think it's absolutely acceptable to deport people that have contributed to our society, who have a right to be here, right? This isn't about social media per se, but you're right, they have a responsibility. I'm just saying to you, I don't think it's as simple as, right, we're gonna put tabs on everybody, track everybody, and then we're gonna monitor what they do, because what does that start and when does it stop?
Yeah, I mean, if the online safety bill is passed, they're going to place the power in terms of judgment to Ofcom, who are the regulator here, and they're proposing 10% of worldwide revenue as a fine, up to 10% of worldwide revenue as a fine. Now, do you think that's enforceable, Sunil?
Well, you've got a few changes thoughts. Play devil's advocate here, yeah. Freedom of speech. Now, if you try to, the whole internet was created in regards to no boundaries, and freedom of speech and allowing you to do whatever you want. So in a way, yes, you have to stamp out hate. There's no denying that. But there's a line here, right? I mean, is this a true reflection of society, which man's been talking about? If we are able to censor this out, then do we have a true understanding of how society is actually being structured, or how it's actually is growing in regards to its hatred views, etc.? My concern is that the profiles of these individuals who are spreading this hate, etc., and a deeper ingrained issue we have within society. Now, if the ages are very young, that tells me we have a problem in regards to how we're educating them. And then this is where the systemic sort of social responsibility we all have as businesses, as individuals, etc., in education. So social media companies, yes, I mean, I've read that they've got various AI, etc., they're using to stamp out as much of the hate they can. But then there's this fine line here. We're using it in a way to try and monitor how we're progressing, and if we are progressing, that's another question. So yes, the social media companies have a responsibility, but where do you stop this line?
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, I just think there needs to be enforceable deterrence, and whether these are enforceable or not will remain to be seen. I mean, we saw with the ICO, with GDPR, having really scary looking fines that could be applied, but we haven't seen any of those actually come up. So how much of a deterrent is that really? So can social media companies just carry on as per and bury their head in the sand with it? Or I don't think they will be able to, and I think they're working on this hard, but it's a painful reminder what's happened in the last couple of weeks, that they haven't been as focused on it as they should be. But look, in the interest of time and moving this thing on, we're going to scratch the surface on a bunch of stuff and not really do it justice. But the other big topic that we've been discussing this week, which is let's apply a diversity and inclusion lens to it if we can. The space travel conversation, which every billionaire seemingly is trying to solve at the moment, between Jeff Bezos, Richard Branson and Elon Musk. So, you know, they've spent an exorbitant amount of money in going to space. They're all focused on that as the future and where they want to be focusing. Seems a little bit, you know, in the current climate of the world and what's going on in you know, in our globe at the moment, a bit of a fanciful thing to do. But if we look at it from a diversity and inclusion lens, you had the oldest person to go to space being female in Wally Funk, and then you got an 18-year-old who's the youngest person to go to space, in this Dutch kid that's gone up there. Transpires his father is a hedge fund manager who paid $28 million for him to be on that trip. So there's a big socio-economic
Sounds really
background.
Accessible, huh?
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, what do you guys think about this as a news story this week?
To be honest, mate, I saw 4 privileged people going up onto a luxury flight into space, and you know, the only thing that struck me was Jeff Bezos when he said, "Thanks, Amazon customers, you paid for that." I was like, "Great, thanks." I'm used to it, to be honest, mate. I mean, look,
You have that thinking just as you were answering a door when the Amazon guy turned up.
yeah. How's your seat, mate? How's that? Did you get any refreshments on that flight? To be honest, mate, it didn't. I can't say it really has struck a chord. It's what I'm used to when you see these privileged individuals, as opposed to talking about race, etc. There's 4 privileged people doing that. Would I ever get to do that in my lifetime? Not sure. How much does it relate to me? Is it groundbreaking? Is it really taking down barriers, etc.? Maybe for their own personal and for the future of travel or whatever they might think it is. But yeah, as a sort of an ethnic minority, not really coming from a privileged background, I just looked at it and went, yeah, okay. And you know, I've got more important things to deal with, and I think in society we have more important things to deal with than these guys going up there.
Look, and Wally Funk has been, in reading up about her, has been denied access to various space programs through her career because she's been female. Particularly, I mean, when you look at NASA, the first female that went to space was 1983. I think they weren't allowed before that point. So, you know, you could argue, you know, as a young girl looking at this, there's a lot of motivation, inspiration here to be taken from that. But you know, as you say, it's a privilege thing.
But how far did they go? They went up to what? They're just...
11 minutes the flight took, I believe. It went up, came down. And there's a lot of money spent on getting them that point.
New planets or anything, or new extraterrestrial life, or harvest, you know, another planet. It
was a joyride, as far as I can make out. Yeah.
I mean, isn't the launch just a couple of alpha males chest beating and having a pissing competition to see who's the richest, who's the baddest, and all that sort of stuff? I mean, I get the attraction. Space is pretty cool, but I mean, Bezos v. Musk v. Branson. One's trying to commercialize things. One's literally living the Dr. Evil life and looks like him. Even launched a rocket similar to Dr. Evil. And the other guy is, well, you know, he is what he is, right? With Musk, we're in a pandemic, man.
Exactly. I was about to say that. It feels very frivolous considering what's going on here on Earth, you know, and their argument of, you know, we're going to need new energy sources that beyond this planet in future years. Fine, you know, absolutely, you're probably right. But let's solve the problems we've got here and now, right? Your money should be better spent going towards solving world problems here in our atmosphere. So
yeah, you were saying, Jay, sorry to interrupt. Energy, new energy source, etc. How are you going to find the energy source in an 11-minute flight? I mean, I don't understand how that has any relevance. Look, man has said it just now. We're in a pandemic. Everyone actually shopped a lot from Amazon, right? So Amazon had their best years ever, if I'm mistaken. So making comments like, "Thanks, customers, you've paid for that," I'm like, well, thanks. You know, like, that's not really wise words to say, is it?
I think with anything, right? They are aware of the coverage. You got to be an idiot, right? And they're not idiots. All 3 of them aren't idiots. They're very, very bright, ambitious, incredibly aware individuals about this. So, you know, taking Wally Funk and all that sort of stuff, and having an 18-year-old, the oldest and the youngest person, having a female on the flight, etc., are strategic nods to what the media coverage is going to say about this position, because they know there's going to be fallout. We're in the middle of a pandemic, and when vaccinations are supplies, it's essentially a competition amongst the rich, right? If you look at the vaccine chart of the world, where people haven't been vaccinated. Not one jab, right? It's all in the socially depressed, socially poor countries of the world. No surprise to you. These three people combined, without question, can solve that, right? And they choose not to. They choose to go to space. And I get the attraction. Space is cool. I love Star Wars, right? But come on, man. It's got to see what's going on here.
You have to pay for their ticket.
$28 million. The 18-year-old's father paid for him to be on.
Wow, it was a donation, wasn't it? I think.
Does Jeff Bezos really need that $28 million?
No, he announced he put it to charitable.
I get that. Well, why not take someone from a less privileged background, put them on that
opportunity. This is my point. It was an opportunity to do so, and it was an opportunity missed. All it did was show us white privilege on massive display.
The knock-on effect of $28 million when you can have someone from a less fortunate background as a figurehead, as an inspiration to the young people looking, going, wow, I want to be like that person, will have 10 times the effect of $28 million, whatever, given to charity, in the longer term.
All right, listen, we're not going to be able to do these conversations justice, and I want to turn people off. We want to keep these short and snappy. We're going to come back and do these weekly where we put the world to rights. So thanks guys for your opinions. We're going to sign off and we'll see you guys soon.
Take it easy. See you soon.
Yeah.